To understand the rise of a giant, you must first walk the land before it learned to roar. Imagine a map of the ancient world, Rome still unborn, Egypt young and proud, and far to the east a vast misty realm whispered about by traders, a land of silk, jade, and secrets. The Silk Road had yet to be drawn, but its future was already being spun. Here, between the Yellow River in the north and the Yangtze in the south, the first Chinese settlements took root. Families lived by the seasons, planting millet and rice in fertile floodplains. But beauty here was paired with danger. The Yellow River, China's sorrow, flooded without mercy, washing away homes and harvests. Enter Yu the engineer, a man whose legend blurs into myth. His father had tried to tame the river with dikes and dams, only to fail. Yu chose a different path. With the help of the agricultural genius Hu Ji, he carved canals, diverting floodwaters to the sea while storing water for crops. The floods stopped. The people rejoiced. Yu was crowned ruler. Thus began the Xia Dynasty, the first in a chain of dynasties that would span over 4,000 years. Stone tools improved harvests. The lunar calendar aligned farming with the heavens. Yu divided the land into 9 provinces, each loyal to his rule. But Yu's death brought a change that would shape China forever. His son Qi became ruler not through merit, but bloodline. The age of hereditary rule had begun. Yet power can corrupt, and in the Xia's twilight, corruption would summon their downfall. They built a kingdom in bronze, but buried their rule in blood. The last Xia ruler, King Ji, was a tyrant whose cruelty shocked even his own lords. Revenge campaigns, endless feasts, lives wasted in his pursuit of pleasure. The people whispered of the mandate of heaven, that heaven grants the right to rule, but revokes it from the unjust. When the Shang rose with bronze weapons and chariots, heaven's will seemed clear. Jie fell, and the Qing Dynasty began. The Shang China glimmered with innovation. Bronze not only forged weapons, but intricate ritual vessels. The Shang recorded history on oracle bones, carved animal bones and turtle shells, asking the gods for guidance. They sailed to distant islands, returning with seashells that served as currency. Yet their rule was steeped in fear. High priests commanded human sacrifices to ensure good harvests. Slaves were buried alive with their masters. And while cities rose behind high walls, the peasants remained trapped in poverty. For 600 years, the Shang fought off rivals, but like the Xia before them, they fell to decadence. The last Shang king, Di Jin, was infamous for his cruelty. Stories tell of him executing his uncle and turning his palace into a temple of debauchery. In 1046 BCE, the Battle of Mu Ye ended Shang rule. As the Zhou army advanced, many Shang soldiers defected. Di Jin, seeing defeat was certain, burned himself alive with his treasures. The Zhou would inherit the mandate of heaven, and with it the longest dynasty in Chinese history.
An empire's strength is in its walls. Its soul is in its ideas. The Zhou dynasty spanned nearly 800 years, longer than any other. Early Zhou rulers built massive irrigation systems, expanded canals, and spread silk production westward. They mastered iron centuries before Europe. But the Zhou's greatest legacy was not in steel or stone. It was in thought. During the Eastern Zhou period, chaos fractured the land into rival states. Out of this turmoil emerged philosophies that would shape China for millennia. Confucianism, respect, justice, and harmony, taught by Master Kong, born in poverty, yet devoted to learning. Taoism, the way of nature, urging balance and simplicity. Legalism, strict laws and harsh punishments to maintain order. Confucius's story became legend, mourning his mother for 3 years, traveling from court to spread his teachings, yet dying before seeing them adopted. His ideas would later become the backbone of imperial China. But as noble ideals spread, the Zhou's political grip weakened. Feudal lords grew too powerful, turning on the throne. And so began the blood-soaked warring states era, where only the strongest could survive. They fought for centuries, not to survive, but to rule. By the 5th century BCE, the Zhou's power had fractured beyond repair. What remained was a chessboard of rival kingdoms: Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Qin, each ruled by ambitious kings with armies in the hundreds of thousands. This was the Warring States period, an era of relentless war, shifting alliances, and brilliant strategy. Imagine a battlefield under a gray sky, rows of spearmen braced behind wooden shields, archers releasing volleys that blot out the sun, war drums pounding like the heartbeat of a continent. Generals such as Sun Tzu refined the art of war, his teachings spreading beyond China's borders. Farmers became soldiers, cities became fortresses. It was the Qin who rose above them all. Under the leadership of King Shang, they mastered iron weaponry, standardized military formations, and built vast networks of roads to move armies faster than any rival. By 221 BCE, Shang had crushed the last opponent and declared himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. His rule was ruthless, yet transformative. A single currency, a unified writing system, the first version of the Great Wall, and monumental public works like the Terracotta Army. But beneath the grandeur lay paranoia, harsh laws, censorship, and brutal punishments. The empire he forged was monumental, but its very strength hid the seeds of collapse.
They opened the gates, and the world came rushing in. After the Qin's sudden fall, civil war tore the land apart until the Han Dynasty emerged in 206 BCE.
The Han combined Qin's centralized power with Confucian ideals, creating a golden age that lasted over 4 centuries. Picture Chang'an, the Han capital, bustling streets lined with merchants, scholars debating in shaded courtyards, caravans loaded with silk and spices departing westward. Under Emperor Wu, the Silk Road was born, linking China to Rome and beyond. Paper was invented, astronomy advanced, and Chinese culture spread to new frontiers. But wealth also brought corruption. As court eunuchs gained influence, farmers suffered under heavy taxes. Rebellions like the Yellow Turban Uprising shook the empire, signaling that even golden ages can tarnish. And when the Han fell, China splintered, not for the first time, and not for the last. When the center collapses, the edges sharpen their blades. From 220 to 589 CE, China fractured into rival kingdoms, dynasties, and warlord states. Northern nomadic tribes swept in, blending cultures and reshaping politics. Buddhism, arriving from India, found fertile ground amid chaos, offering solace to millions. Imagine a monastery carved into a cliff face, lanterns flickering in the wind, monks chanting, while outside armies march and cities burn. This was a time of artistic brilliance. Intricate Buddhist sculptures, calligraphy, and poetry flourished, even as kingdoms rose and fell in quick succession. Out of this turbulence would rise a dynasty that dreamed on an imperial scale. The world came to their gates, and they welcomed it with open arms. In 618 CE, the Tang Dynasty took power, ushering in one of history's most cosmopolitan eras. Chang'an became the largest city in the world, a glittering capital where Arab traders, Persian musicians, Korean envoys, and Japanese monks mingled in the markets. Art, literature, and science flourished. Poets like Li Bai and Du Fu penned verses that still echo today. Printing technology took its first steps. But prosperity carried shadows. Frontier wars drained resources, and the An Lushan rebellion devastated the empire, killing millions. The Tang had opened China to the world, but the world would not always be so kind. They mastered the art of creation, but could not escape the art of war. The Song Dynasty, 960 to 1279, brought unprecedented innovation: gunpowder weapons, magnetic compasses, movable type printing, and advanced shipbuilding. Urban life blossomed, with tea houses, markets, and theaters becoming central to daily life. Yet the Song faced constant military threats, especially from the steppe. The greatest came in the 13th century, when Genghis Khan and later Kublai Khan unleashed the Mongol tide. The Song fell, and China became part of the vast Yuan dynasty, the first time it was fully ruled by outsiders. Foreign rule would not last forever, but its lessons would shape the centuries ahead.
They built walls to keep the world out, but history always finds a way in. The Ming Dynasty restored Han Chinese rule, embarking on massive construction projects, including the iconic sections of the Great Wall. Admiral Zheng He's fleets sailed as far as Africa, displaying China's naval might. But isolationism crept in. While Europe surged into the age of exploration, China turned inward. Corruption and peasant revolts weakened the Ming, and in 1644, the Manchu-led Qing Dynasty seized the throne. The Qing expanded China's borders to their greatest extent, but by the 19th century, foreign powers carved spheres of influence through unequal treaties. The Middle Kingdom had survived millennia, but the modern world was about to shake it to its core. 1,000 years of empire ended in the smoke of revolution. The Qing's final century was marked by humiliation, the Opium Wars, the Taiping Rebellion, the Boxer Uprising. By 1911, the dynasty collapsed, replaced by the fragile Republic of China. Civil War and the Japanese invasion during World War II tore the nation apart. In 1949, Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China. Land reforms, industrial campaigns, and the Cultural Revolution reshaped society, often with devastating human costs. After Mao, reforms under Deng Xiaoping opened China to the global economy, setting it on the path to becoming the superpower it is today. Yet the question remains, after 5,000 years of continuous civilization, can China's next chapter match the resilience of its past?